Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's up, Lock Shoppers? Great to be back after a couple days away on the water. Shout out to Matty Owanek and my guy Pat Gregoire for holding it down. I am back. Dusty remains the busiest person in Canada in the middle of August. Doing a great job with all those Hlinka calls on TSN right now. And, of course, he'll be back in the booth on the weekend for the Canadian Football League. But welcome, everyone, to the Lock Shop presented by our friends at Coolbet. Again, if you haven't played a Coolbet before, what are you waiting for? Use the promo code LOCKSHOP. You're on your first deposit for a 100% bonus up to $200. Here's my guy, Patty G. We've got a lot to talk about. I basically just paused my life after Thursday night bomber shutout of the BC Lions. I still can't wrap my head around that one. And then I had limited access to my phone over a few days, came back. But man, and I know you probably touched on some of this yesterday, but there are a couple things from the weekend. But thanks again for filling in. How are you? How was your long weekend?
Long weekend was great. Not as great as yours. That fishing trip looked awesome. Reeled in some fish, and now it's time to reel in some winners on the Lock Shop today, Huss.
Yes, I brought a lot of bait back to hopefully get this one in. I mean, listen, we're in the middle of the Olympics right now, and this is actually a great time. If you're looking ahead to, the evening events in Paris are just about to get going. I've got a pick for the 3,000 men's steeplechase coming up in a little bit. That's not until 2:43 Winnipeg time. I think it's supposed to go off at 1:43 Edmonton time. So we'll touch on that. But listen, it is Wednesday. We're going to get to the Wyndham picks. I have to talk to you about the Olympic golf. And we'll hit the leaderboard right now. I'm sure you guys touched on it yesterday. I mean, of course, I've got a piece of our girl, Brooke Henderson. She seems to come up big in national events. So we'll keep an eye on what's happening at the women's golf. But I'll be honest, I came back from being on the water, and we had a couple hours to kill in the afternoon. And luckily, I hadn't seen anything. And I know many people have a lot of beef with CBC, but this GEM app for the Olympics is incredible. And I was able to turn it around and basically watch the final round of the Olympic golf without knowing what happened just about in its entirety until it got spoiled for me on the 16th hole. That's not the point, though. This was over. John Rahm had, the gold medal was, around his neck. 4-shot lead after 10. Listen, and I know Brandel Chambly said this, and I don't normally ride with Brandel on takes, but considering the stakes and the circumstances and where he had found himself, I still think that choke job of Rory at the U.S. Open with the 2 putts on 16 and 18 is going to be one we talk about for years, but in a different way, almost as big of a disaster for John Rahm, who, listen, the bank account's looking good, but the game and the results this year just haven't been up to John Rahm's standards. And when you have so few opportunities to prove it against the top players, an even bigger missed opportunity.
Huss, it was a emotional letdown for John Rahm. He won his first event on LIV. Didn't you see how emotional he was getting? In tears. Yeah. But
real tears, by the way, those were real for sure. That wasn't oh, geez, I guess I should act like I care.
We talked about this yesterday, an all-time choke job, but looking at his scorecard, so he birdies 10, and then just listen to this absolute disaster for John Rahm. Bogey, bogey, par, double bogey, par, birdie, bogey, bogey. Ends up shooting a 39 on the back. Just an absolute disastrous finish. He's not even able, you said it. I think he was, you said 4? Was it 4 strokes up?
4-shot lead. 4-shot lead on everyone.
Yes,
and on the 11th hole.
and he doesn't even end up on the podium. He ends up finishing T5. Victor Perez ended up finishing ahead of him. Just an absolute disaster. Again, I said this yesterday, I'll repeat it. I know when he wakes up every morning and pulls up his bank account, checks his statement, he's feeling okay. But I do feel that deep down inside, a part of John Rahm, the competitor that he really is, I think the decision to go to live has really, really, really affected this guy. And we've seen it. He has just not been the same golfer. He's got some great results on live, but when it comes to these big events, he's fallen short. This is the biggest, choke that we've seen from him. Normally, he's not even in contention to choke leads away. He's just not used to playing competitive golf, and that's exactly what happens. Got to give credit for Scottie Scheffler. Man, we were talking about, does he have that killer instinct? Is he too nice of a guy? Well, he shoved that up our hoops, no doubt about that. Sets the course record on a Sunday, wins a gold medal for his country, and probably puts away the debate of who is the best golfer on the planet right now and who is the golfer of the year. He was the outright favorite. I don't think any of us had any money on him to win, but an unbelievable finish. Probably one of the best Sundays of golf that we've seen. Shout out to CBC Gem. No commercial breaks, just full-on coverage. It was awesome. And let's not forget, Tommy Fleetwood plus 700 to end up on the podium. That's a cash for the lock shop.
Yeah, and Hideki, I mean, we had talked about him as an outright long shot. Obviously, he gets a top 3 finish as well. I'm just like Scheffler's round, birdie, like announcing, hey, everybody, don't forget about me. Then just parred the rest of the way, including the par 5 ninth. And I think at the turn realized, all right, if I have any opportunity to win this tournament, now is the time to go crazy. And that's exactly what he did. Birdie 10, par 11, birdie 12, par 13, and then birdie 14, birdie 15, birdie 16, birdie 17, and was able to just par 18 and win without a playoff, considering where he was. Like, and we'll get into this when we talk Wyndham in a minute, but I mean, it's always recency bias, right? Scottie Scheffler having the most incredible season ever. Xander pops in and wins two majors. And everyone's like, well, the majors are the most important. Is it Xander that is going to win it? Now, I kind of really did think this was a unique event that might have been the difference between the two and what Scottie did on Sunday, and a disappointing rounds 3 and 4 for Xander staying off the podium after winning the gold medal last time. I'm sort of with you. I think it does give him a head up. I wonder how much people are going to put into the FedEx. Because, I mean, listen, right now, no one's thinking about it at all, but it still is a huge part of the PGA Tour that both of these guys are going to be competing in. I do wonder, like, if Xander won the FedEx and Scottie was just sort of middle of the pack in the Tour Championship, does that put him back over the top? Bottom line is it's a 2-horse race, but anyone that had Scottie out of it certainly has him right back in it, if not the favorite after winning an Olympic gold medal.
That's a great point. The playoffs starts next week with the FedEx St. Jude Championship, the BMW Championship the week after that, and then the Tour Championship. Let's not forget Victor Hovland went back-to-back with the BMW and the Tour Championship, and that's really where he started to heat up into the Ryder Cup last year. I really, really do think that if one of these guys are maybe to not necessarily win 2 of the 3, but if they're able to really assert their dominance and then win the FedEx Cup playoff, the Tour Championship, then I think that's going to be the tiebreaker. But, I was starting to lean towards Xander with 2 majors. Like, how is that guy not there? I think we get an extra major with this Olympic golf, and the way that Scottie was able to rise to the occasion on Sunday, and the way that Xander kind of looked like old Xander on Sunday leads me to believe that I think right now you got to give the edge to Scottie, and we'll see what happens down the stretch in the playoffs. I don't think the playoffs maybe carry as much weight as some of the other events that have already happened, but in terms of a tiebreaker, I think it's going to play a part for sure.
Well, listen, we're going to get to the PGA and our picks for the Wyndham in a minute, and then we can sort of turn over to a little bit of football talk and take a look at some NFL futures if we've got time. I am seeing in chat my guy Penner's Pancakes. What's up, Double P? So what was your overall thoughts of SummerSlam? Well, again, I had to kind of follow it remotely. I did come back and watch some of it when I got back, the stuff that I wasn't aware of. Like, I mean, I didn't watch enough of it to talk about, the quality of the matches and all that stuff. I'll leave that to the internet wrestling community. But as far as it would seem like it was a real storyline show. I mean, you had you knew the Liv Dom thing was going to blow up with Rhea Ripley, and that's exactly what happened. He ended up crossing her and going with Liv. I can't blame him, to be honest with you. But hey, you know what? Life is good if you're Dom Mysterio. Those are two pretty bad choices to have. But I think so much of it was pretty predictable. And we saw it as we went over on Wednesday before I left, like some of those big lines in matches that you'd think maybe were a little closer. And it was all around what's been driving kind of the storylines around the WWE. So, surprised that LA Knight finally won, a title. No, Sami Zayn was due to lose, and Braun Breaker was on the rocket ship. We knew that. Liv Morgan likely. And obviously Cody Rhodes. I mean, the big thing was, and it was very, very cool to see Roman come back and give it to Solo. So I'm sure their SmackDown ratings are going to be high on Friday. But it did look like a really cool event. I see Joel Lavoie saying The Miz is the GOAT. He's one heck of a host for a premium live event or pay-per-view. But, I did enjoy it. And, man, they've got a lot going on. It's pretty fun following the WWE right now. And this is a great time to do it because the sporting landscape gets a lot more packed coming up in a month when NFL action begins. But yeah, it was fun.
It was a really good PLE. Like, I just recently started to get back into WWE, and it was probably the best PLE of the year that I've watched so far. And you're right, the storylines were unbelievable. You already mentioned a couple of them. Like, Judgment Day is in complete turmoil now. Yeah. Not only with Liv Morgan breaking them up because of Dominic Mysterio, but then Finn Balor absolutely screws over Priest and he loses his title. Now Gunther, one of the highest touted prospects in wrestling for a long time. Now Gunther, now he goes, he's going to go back. It's going to be in Germany. I think it's the Battle of Berlin, or Battle at Berlin is the next PLE. So that's going to be huge. The Roman return was awesome. But another big one as well was the Drew McIntyre CM Punk match with Seth Rollins as referee. And CM Punk basically screwed himself in that match, was too fixated on Seth Rollins, forgot about Drew McIntyre, and McIntyre, now he wins and gets his revenge. I feel like we're going to get a triple threat match between all three of these guys at some point. Seems like it's a no-brainer, but Triple H, Paul Levesque, as he's now known in the business side of things, is absolutely cooking. And this storyline was great. From a betting perspective, you are right. A lot of the heavy favorites did end up winning, but we had a couple of exclusives that did cash. The New, which I believe was LA Knight, Braun Breaker, obviously that's another big one as well. Nia Jax and Gunther, all the win. That ended up cashing. So there definitely will be a little more opportunities to bet on some of these remaining PLEs. We're going to try to build more of these exclusives because, again, it is really tough. When you're laying minus 1,500 on a title match for a certain guy to win. So that's what we'll be doing, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the WWE
Lock Shop
season.
The home of wrestling parlays, boosted parlays. Check the exclusives for all of that. Hey, listen, just while we're on the golf, we'll quickly get to it. Yeah, Rory, I'm just looking at the final numbers here. John Rahm tied with Rory at 15 under. Perez got to 16, and then it was 17 for Decky, 18 for Tommy, 19 for Scotty Scheffler. And I did laugh. We know how close Tommy's been in a long time. And, the seconds hurt a lot more in the majors, I think, when you don't get on a podium. So Shout out to Tommy and great pick on the 7-1. Yeah, do we trust him to win? No. Can we trust him to be there on Sunday afternoon? Absolutely, we can. The women's Olympic golf, and I just did a small card for this one. I hit Brooke at 16-1, and then I went a little bit on Nelly Korda as well, who is the favorite at plus 450. Not looking good though. Nelly. Now, this is funny. She's T13, which sounds great, even par. The issue is that French golfer Celine Boutier went nuclear today, 7 under par. She's got a 3-shot lead on Ashley Buhai from South Africa, and every other player in the field is 5 shots or more back from her. So there's there's 2 golfers that have like a really, really nice start. Other than that, it is really tight. There's 4 golfers at 2 under, and then a group of 6 at 1 under, including Canada's Elena Sharp. Not expecting her to be the top Canadian after the first round. Minji Lee in there as well. And then a big group at even, which includes 2 of the favorites in Americans, Nelly Korda and Rose Zhang, who's one of the top young players. Brooke was 2 over for her first round, and she really battled back. Holy smokes. I'm just looking at the scorecard.
Dude, it was a mess. She eagled 18. 5. She eagled 18 to get to 2 over. Like, she absolutely grinded for that one.
Let's just go through the card here for people that missed the round. Pars 1, bogeys 2, 3, 4, and 5 to get to 4 over through 5 holes. Pars the next 2, birdies 8, birdies 9 for a roller coaster of a +2 front 9. This back 9 is insane. Bogeys 10, pars 11, birdies 12. So she's back to even for the back. Par. Birdies 14. All right, we're down to 1 under. Follows that up with a double, a par, bogey 17 to get back to 4 over. And then, as you mentioned, an eagle 3 on the par 5. A bomb drive puts it to, just looking at these, she put it to about, what's this one? Well, it looks like about kind of 25, 30 feet, and then dropped it. So a great finish to the round. And hopefully Brooke can kind of keep that momentum and keep the mistakes to a minimum. The one thing about Brooke is, I mean, she obviously has that crazy driver. She hits it a mile. But if she doesn't have the driving accuracy at this course, as we've seen, the rough can be really, really problematic and can force some big numbers. So that is where we are with the women's golf. Listen, while we're on the golf, why don't we get into our Wyndham picks right now? And then we can kind of transition over to check on the CFL lines. Matt and I will make the picks tomorrow for this week in the CFL and a little NFL futures talk as well. But the Wyndham Championship tees off tomorrow. You figured that a lot of the top guys that just played in Paris are going to be taking some time off. So far more wide open field, Pat. And if you go through history, this is not a tournament where the player of the year is always winning. I mean, I think partly that field has been hurt a little bit, but I mean, the likes of Lucas Glover last year winning. Look, this is a tournament that you want to make a point of going quite far down the leaderboard, because I think we've seen guys with big numbers have been historically very live at the Wyndham Championship.
And for good reason. This is an opportunity, and the last opportunity for a lot of these golfers to get inside that top 70 mark, to get into the playoffs. And there is obviously, when you're a professional athlete, you always want to make the playoffs. You always want to extend your season as long as possible, but let's not get it twisted. There's a lot of money to be won in the remaining 3 tournaments next. And you got to continue to make that cut line each and every time leading up to that Tour Championship. So there are some guys on this list that the only way they're getting into the playoff is if they actually win this thing or finish within the top 3. So there is a lot on the line. Like, just think of Justin Thomas last year. Like, he had to chip in for I think it was a birdie for him to make it inside that cut line, for him to make the playoff. It didn't happen for him. So it's going to be intriguing. It's going to be interesting this week. There is going to be a different dynamic to the broadcast, watching where certain guys lay. But yeah, certainly there's a few guys that I've got locked in near the top. Not as many long shots as I honestly thought. I probably will sprinkle a couple more that you talked about, but definitely a couple of guys that, need a win or need a really, really good effort for them to even make next week's FedEx St. Jude.
Here's just a few of the guys that are on the outside looking in right now of the top 70. Lucas Glover, who won this tournament last year, is at 75. Kurt Kitayama, 73. Davis Riley is at 71. Nikolai Højgaard, who very talented player. I just don't think he's played as much as some of these other guys. He's at 79 right now. So he's, I think all those guys, and of course Svenny's at 81. Another player that is sort of in the mix. I mean, I'm going down Kevin Yu, Bo Hostler, CT Pan, who was the Gim Reaper as well at 89. Guy that can pop at times. And then just going down, I see Ryan Fox is at 100. Oh, man, poor Ricky. 102 for the year. Not great. And Matt Kuchar, who's actually been really good at this event in the past, is at 111. So, listen, that's just a number of guys that need a big week to get themselves into the 70.
And Huss, the other thing I think you have to look at as well is the other players that are on the bubble on the other side. Jonathan Vegas, believe it or not, even after picking up that victory, he's still sitting at 66. Emiliano Grillo, he's at 67. Seamus Power, 68. Brendan Todd at 69. And unfortunately, his great finish last week in Paris, Victor Perez didn't pick up any points off of that. He's sitting right on that line. That is why he's here. That's why he hopped on a bird. He was talking to media today. I'm sure he would have loved to stay at home, take the week off, enjoy being home in Paris, in France, take in some of the festivities. But nope, he had to hop on a plane and get ready here because he very much could be bumped off this line depending on any of those other guys and how they finish.
Top favorites for this event. Here's how it's shaken up. Sung Jae is the favorite at 14-1. And he's the only guy under 20-1 for the entire tournament. Billy Ho and Shane Lowry are at 22. I don't know if I'm expecting much from Shane just with how much golf he's played lately and obviously moved over from Paris. Siwoo Kim is at 25-1. Cam Young 28-1. Then we got a group at 33 with our guy Akshay Bhatia, Brian Harmon, Minwoo Lee, Aaron Rai, Jordan Spieth, and Davis Thompson. And then 40s include Keegan Bradley, Luke Clanton. Thinking about giving Luke another chance on the card after what happened the last time I picked him.
He gets a mulligan.
Cam Davis at 40 and two-time winner this year, Bobby Mack. At 40-1, he's shown that he can win 2 big tournaments, national opens. So interesting to see Bobby there. 50s, we've got Detry, English, Nikolai Højgaard, as we talked about, Kitayama, who needs a big weekend, Denny McCarthy, Maverick McNeely, and Johnny Vegas. And then 66s, Eric Cole, Nick Dunlap, Ryan Fox, Gazerman, Griffin, Mac Hughes, Jaeger, the German, Killa Keith, Mitchell, or Kashmir Keith, as we like to call him. Victor Perez in this group. JT Poston, who's won this event before. Justin Rose is at 66. That's an interesting number. EVR, who did play in the Olympics for South Africa, he's at 66. And a very interesting name, Will Zalatoris, who at times this year looked like he was totally back. And at times he has not looked back. But that's considering the field, the tournament, what Zalatoris has done in the past, 66, a pretty good number. You then get into the 80s. Kuchar's in there, Seamus Power, and another very intriguing name. Anywhere else, I wouldn't even bring him up. But here at the Wyndham, Webb Simpson at 80-1. is, I mean, he just seems to show up and play really well at this event. He's won it in 2011. He's been runner-up a couple times. There seems to be good vibes. But where are you going for the outrights, Patty?
I don't think there should come as much as a surprise that my card doesn't start near the top, but certainly could not get past Akshay Bhatia 33 to 1. I just don't get the number. I understand, when you look at his most two recent results, not great at the 3M, and then, struggled obviously with the wind at the Open. And he has had some struggles at this course at Sedgefield. Missed the cut last 2 years playing here. So when you look at that, you probably be like, yeah, no duh, Pat, he's going to be at 33 to 1, but he's a different golfer than the last two times he played here. I think you could make a legitimate case that he is a top 1 to 3 talent in this field. There is no doubt about it. He is going to probably be on the President's Cup team for Team USA. I think there is a chance that come a year's time, we might be talking about this guy playing on the Ryder Cup team. That's how high this guy's ceiling is. So at 33 to 1, I don't understand why this would not be an auto bet for a guy that has rid this guy all season long. He's 9th in stroke gains to approach to the green in this field, and then 17th overall in the tour. It is a shorter golf course where finding fairways certainly can set you up for success, meaning it's the second shot golf course, which absolutely fits Bhatia to a T. I've been reading some things saying like, oh, well, Bhatia's not really an accurate driver of the ball. He might struggle here. He's 30th in driving accuracy on tour. This is not the old Akshay Bhatia who kind of sprayed it all over the place. He is a fairway finder now. I think this course, with some of the skill sets that he's added, and if his putter can behave this week, I think certainly he can be in contention at 33 to 1. Not too far from there. Aaron Rai, 35 to 1. I know he was a bit disappointing at the Open, but this season he has been phenomenal, especially as of late. T2 at the Rocket Mortgage, T4 at the Byron, T4 at the Scottish Open, T7 at the John Deere, and then he finished inside the top 20 at the US Open as well. He's a flusher of the ball. He's one of the most accurate drivers on tour, and he currently ranks 8th in strokes gained on approach. The ball really well. He's rolling it really well, which is something that was probably the biggest glaring weakness, of his game. Before missing the cut at Royal Troonhus, he had 5 straight top 20 finishes. So I love him. Top 20 at plus 140. A little bit further up the board, and maybe this is a pick because Dusty's not here, and I know he would be making this bet. Denny McCarthy, 50 to 1. His short game is elite. Probably the best short game in this field by a lot. He's 3rd in overall putting in tour, 1st in putts per round, and 8th in scrambling, which is all necessary to have success at Sedgefield. He's played pretty well here. He has 3 top 25 finishes at this tournament. And if he can find the fairways this week, there is no reason he can't be in contention. And I think at 50 to 1, it's just too short of a number for a guy like Denny. Matt Kuchar, you mentioned it, 80 to 1. He is live here. Let's not forget what happened last year. Lucas Glover and his sweaty khakis. He won here. It was a great moment. He also ended up winning the following week as well and kind of set Glover up for a lot of success. Kuchar, I think, could fit this mold as well. And going to the storylines that we talked about, Kuchar is currently sitting on a streak of 17 years of making the playoffs. In fact, he's the only player on the PGA Tour to make the FedEx Cup in every single playoff since they began this thing back in 2007. Cooch has been starting to play really good golf as well. At the 3M Open, he finished T3. He gained almost 10 strokes on approach, 9.68, which was the most in the field and the most he's gained since all the way back in 2011. 80 to 1, I'm going with the old dog, Matt Kuchar, because the only way he's not going to break that streak of making the playoffs is unless he wins this thing. So Kuchar, 80 to 1, I'll probably get a top 20 bet in there as well for him and Denny McCarthy as well.
I love it. I mean, this is the sort of tournament that you can really fire on some bigger numbers, and that's exactly where I'm going to be at right now. And I'm looking at some past results of a few guys that have been sort of thinking about, like Adam Hadwin hasn't done well at this tournament in the past. I was considering him. I was looking to see what our guy Doug Gim had done in the past. He was T51 yesterday or last time in and around -3. But you do have to go low. I mean, it does seem like even when guys are just kind of playing relatively pedestrian golf, you're 3 or 4, you're 5, you're making the cut and not doing much on the weekend. You're off the lead by 16 strokes. I mean, it's basically sort of 20. You got to get hot and go to it. I'm certainly not touching anyone in the low odds, although the Koreans have historically done. Like if you're looking for maybe if you look at guys that have won this event before, Sungjae's been right there, but just with the history of this tournament, I've got a tough time laying the 14-1. Siwoo Kim's an interesting guy. I mean, and Siwoo, sometimes he can just be terrible, but when he's dialed in, especially at a course like this, it's a place that he can dance with. But I'm going to go down, and I was considering potentially Brian Harmon or Minwoo Lee. Obviously, I'm fully endorsing the Akshay pick. I'll probably get a little bit on him. But I'm going to actually start at the 40s. I think I am going to pull give Luke Clanton one more chance. This is sort of, dialed in players can really, really make things happen at the Wyndham in past before. And he has been that. I mean, as I said, he gets a mulligan for the miscut a couple weeks ago. Other than that, though, he's shown that he is every bit the PGA Tour player right now. And this is another chance for him to really set himself up for next year. So we'll have a little fun with that. The other guy, though, and I mentioned him before, I mean, how is Bobby Mack 40-1 in this field with the way that he's played so far this year? The game can travel. I mean, he won in Canada. He's won in Scotland. I mean, now you get into one of these tracks for the Wyndham Championship here in the United States that, I mean, he's very familiar with playing it. I mean, he's a PGA Tour player right now and right in and around the top. So Bobby Mack at 40, Nikolai Højgaard, and I know he will have just played and, there's travel going on, but he's actually been really good over this past kind of 6 to 8 week period. And we talked about the stakes for Højgaard right now with where he's at in the FedEx Cup standings. So, I mean, I don't mind Højgaard. I think he's got the talent to win this event. I am a little nervous about the fact that, he just finished the Olympics and you're traveling across the country and getting right back at it. But the stakes are high right now. So Højgaard and Bobby Mack are on the card this week. Moving down into the 66s, I had given a thought to Willie Z just because the number is so good. Justin Rose is another guy. I mean, sometimes we've seen older veteran players come up and make things happen here. The Victor Perez, I think, finishing 4th as a Frenchman in France, like if he can just maintain his position or stay in, I'm sure he'll be fine. He just would like to get through in the spot that he's in right now. The thing with Mac is when he gets hot, I mean, his putter can really, really be a big factor. I do like Mac at 66 more than I like Hadwin at 80 for the tournament. But then there's two guys that I think, while maybe we don't go on them as live to win, I do think history can tell us that these guys can be in the mix. One is last year's champion, Lucas Glover, another guy that needs a big, big tournament this week. He's 100-1 to win the event. Rarely do you see a defending champion in an event as wide open that actually tracks historically with guys playing well as far off. Now, I'm not going to take him at 100-1 to win the tournament, but man, at plus 285 to top 20, sign me up for that, a big number. And then the other guy, as I mentioned, is Webb Simpson. Webb Simpson is always in the mix at this tournament. And if I'm not mistaken, Patty, like in the last couple of years, he was Sungjae Im in this tournament. I mean, he was the favorite in this event. So now, is his game good enough to win right now? I mean, I'll defer to the no. But again, could he come up with a good week and feel good about himself and pop his way into the top 20? I don't mind that. I mean, I would even a two-shotter, Lucas Glover, Webb Simpson, two former champions, both the top 20. Like the number is plus 285 on both of them. So like even without adding another guy in, we might be able to put something together on that. But those are the guys that I've sort of been in on it. The other guy, if you do want to, I mean, listen, I know he played last week. The 100 to 1 on CT Pan. Speaking of former champions, he's a guy that has played really well. I'm surprised that that number is as high as it is. He was, I mean, right there in the mix, competitive in the Olympic Games. Of course, he won the bronze before. So some longer shots on the card that I think could definitely be there. I think there's some nice value with pretty big numbers for top 20s of a few guys that we had in the past.
Yeah, that's I'm almost regretting that I spent too much time in that mid pack, but like hearing a guy like Robbie Mack, like we actually kind of missed the boat on Bobby Mack. Like I think he was like 50 or 55 to 1 at some point.
People have jumped on it.
And looking at the 100 to 1 area somewhere, there's somewhere I gotta go. And I think I gotta place an outright bet. I probably will throw something out there. But some of those other names that you mentioned, obviously Webb Simpson, 80 to 1. That's similar to my Kuchar bet. I do have a feeling it's going to be one of these, elder statesmen, a guy that's been around, a guy that's played here, knows this course well, and knows how much is on the line rather than, a young gun, an up and comer. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if Sung Jae just runs away with it at 14 to 1. That's why he's 14 to 1. But there's no way I can place a bet quite like that. This Wyndham Championship, though, always provides a lot of value on some of those longer shots. Just the fact that a lot of the guys that are already solidified into the FedEx don't need to play this. They use this as a week off to rest up and get ready for the postseason.
Svenny's at 80. And again, he needs a big tourney, and we've seen Svenny when he's playing well can get hot. I guess no Pendy this week.
No, Pendy's locked and loaded. He's taken this week off. He'll be back next week. So yeah, Svenny. I mean, in terms of all eyes for Coolbet being there, let's not forget the last time out, Adam Svensson was phenomenal. He just had an absolute disastrous of a Sunday. Like he was really in contention, like right there with Pendrith. Pendrith obviously had the really bad Saturday for maybe honestly like an hour. It was like a span of like 4 holes that really, really nuked him. So Svensson, yeah, a big result here would be great. He ended up being T37 at the 3 a.m. He shot a 67, 69, 66, and then on Sunday a 75. If he can get hot, I do know he's working with a new putting coach, and he was really putting well at the 3M Open up until, Sunday afternoon, where things kind of got away from him. But, at 80 to 1, I certainly would not be opposed to riding Svenny so he can meet Taylor Pendrith, and we can have 2 golfers in the FedEx Cup playoffs.
That would be nice. All right. Do we want to do a bit of a parlay here?
I think we do. Actually, before we did get to that, I did want to check Pendrith in the FedEx standings, 25. So he's sitting pretty good right now when it comes to, because again, like the cut moves and the fields get smaller and smaller. So him sitting at 25, if he can have a pretty good result at the FedEx St. Jude next week, like we could be seeing him in the Tour Championship.
Oh, listen, he's had such a great season. He's put himself in a really good spot. Now it's time for guys like Adam Svensson to come up with a big Wyndham Championship and visit and meet him there. All right. Well, where do we want to go for this? Do we want to do Badia and Bobby Mack?
I could get behind that for sure. I absolutely could get behind that.
So 150 on Badia, 2-1 on Bobby Mack, and then maybe we go with Sungjae top 20.
I could do that. I definitely could do that. Top 20.
Sungjae, Akshay, and Bobby Mack. Plus 200, plus 150, minus 120 for top 20s.
Yep, we'll get a very good number on that, I think, for
So
especially
put that one
considering
out. And then Patty, if you can, let's do a Hustlers horses for courses parlay.
Yeah.
Lucas Glover and Webb Simpson, both are plus 285. Those two guys, top 20. We'll put that out just on a 2-shot and see what we can get to that in the exclusives as well. So there's our pick for the Wyndhams. It gets going tomorrow. Of course, the Olympic golf is well underway. Round 2 of the women's will begin in the middle of the night tonight. All right, we've actually ran by. Well, we'll save NFL stuff for Friday. Quick look at where we're at here with the CFL on the weekend. And again, Awanak will be in with me tomorrow. We'll really dive into this and make all the picks. But the Ottawa Red Blacks, 2.5-point favorites at home against the Riders, who got the wake-up call from your guy Trey Ford out in Edmonton last week, Elks fans. Big win for the Elks at the hands of the Riders. And Saskatchewan now, plus 2.5 underdogs. It's going to be tough not to jump on Saskatchewan. But Ottawa just keeps on winning, especially at home. Rematch between the Stamps and Argos. This one in Toronto, where the Calgary's perfect at home, winless on the road. I mean, I think you kind of figure out where I'll probably go with this one. Calgary even money on the money line. Argos minus 120. And the point spread right now is 1 at minus 110. The Ticats and Alouettes go at it again this week. Montreal really flexed on them last week. I mean, Hamilton got that pick 6 early. It looked good. Their defense, their offense had no response at all for the Montreal Alouettes defense. 7.5 is the number right now with Montreal. Caleb Evans out for the season. So, I mean, if Fajardo is back, which he very well could be, it's not official yet. We will hear, but we thought he might be back last week. But Davis Alexander looks great. I'm sure they wouldn't worry about playing him for an extra game if they need to do it. And then, how about this? The BC Lions, 1.5-point underdogs in Edmonton to the Elks. Now, of course, Vernon Adams got hurt last week against the Blue Bombers. But I don't think anyone could have possibly seen the Elks at 0-7 being a favorite at home to BC. I'll tell you what, I mean, if that happens, if BC takes a loss, we know Saskatchewan's kind of been struggling, a little bit as of late. The Bombers with that win last week, finding themselves right back into it. And I'll tell you what, if this defense keeps playing as well as we've got it, but anyways, we'll focus in on the CFL. We'll make our picks tomorrow. We'll put together a parlay. We'll see what Dusty's thinking. We'll get him on it too. But those are up right now. Don't forget, 20% win boost once a week in the CFL. So whatever your favorite bet is, whether it's a parlay of your favorite picks or you're just focusing on one game, whether it's a side, a money line, a total, just click that green box and get it in. Now, Pat, before we go, we do have tonight, or actually this afternoon, 2:43 p.m. It's the 3,000-meter steeplechase. Spent some time over a few last night. Once I got back with my pal, we really wanted to handicap this event, which goes this afternoon, 2:43 Winnipeg time, so just in under 2 hours. It is a 2-horse race. The favorite to win the event is Soufiane El Bakali of Morocco.
Of course.
2023 world champion and the favorite in the event at minus 125. The challenger, Lemecha Gima of Ethiopia. And Lemecha comes in at plus 118. Now, we were scouring the internet for all of the top steeplechase results of the Diamond League events and whatnot. And For a long time, El Bakkali has been the number one guy in the world. He is the defending world champion. He's 28 years old, though. And Lemaitre Guima is the up-and-comer in the world of steeplechase. The next one, if you will. The question is Lemaitre Guima's time now? I say it is. He is the world record holder. He has had the greatest performance yet in this event. And champions come up with their biggest events under the brightest lights on the biggest stages. And I would suggest if you are a competitor in steeplechase, there is nothing close to the Olympic Games. So let's go with the kid. Plus 118 right now. Lemaitre Guima of Ethiopia to upset Soufiane El Bakkali of Morocco. What's interesting about this is that Guima's number is a lot chalkier for top three than is El Bakkali. Bakkali's the favorite at minus 125, but is minus 556 to get on the podium. Guima plus 18 to win, but minus 769. So again,
interesting.
We've got youth on our side. We've got the world record on our side. And we've got a guy that's more likely to be on the podium. If you're going to be on the podium, get to the top. Lemaitre Guima, 3,000-meter steeplechase this afternoon. There is your athletics track and field pick today in the lock shop. Patty, great stuff. And as I say, we got into a lot of golf talk. There's a lot for us to get to. But training camp, final practices today. We're getting into the preseason. It is time for NFL futures. Spent a lot of time thinking about fantasy football on the boat for the last few weeks as well. So, and when we're talking fantasy, it's a great transition to player props for the season. Mm-hmm. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll spend plenty of time both talking kind of fantasy, how that applies to the sports book, if you want to make season-long bets on that, as well as just get into some teams that are up and down. Is Ayuk a Steeler yet?
I haven't seen it yet. But I know I don't want to. I think the Ayuk topic might be suspended from the chat. Jake might get a little bit triggered after he said he did not want to be a Patriot.
Yes, I know. They had it done. He sounded cooled on that. Yeah, he apparently wants to go to Pittsburgh, and the People's Insider, Pretty Ricky, has been all over it. And he said he's in a blood feud right now with the NFL insiders, taking it to Rapp and Schefter. And if he does end up going to Pittsburgh today, it will be a win for the dog with an NFL hat as an avatar on the internet. The retired Pretty Ricky, the most intriguing and mysterious insider around. Patty, thanks for doing this. I know listen, I'm not sure what your sked is on Friday, but it would be fun to get you and Jake in. If you guys are both available, maybe do a little three-way with some NFL chat. I know we're going to be getting into NFL, so see how your day lines up if there's a chance. But thanks again for filling in the last couple of days while I was away. Great stuff. Enjoyed the shows and appreciate you as always. And I guess I'll be back tomorrow with Matt Iwanek.
Yeah, the CFL show, which is quickly becoming my favorite lock shop of the week. Matt did a pretty good job guessing the lines yesterday as well. So he's slowly turning into a CFL sharp. I absolutely love it.
The big brain. We used the big brain in soccer. Now we're moving it over to the CFL. Folks, have a great one. We'll turn you back over to EST programming. Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up just over 5 minutes from now over on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel. Check us out there as well. Patty, have a great one, and good luck tonight with the picks, everybody.